Witnesses in Colombia observed the object gliding with purpose until it struck high-voltage power lines and dropped to the ground.
In March 2025, something fell out of the sky near Buga, Colombia, and left a perfectly circular ring of scorched grass on the ground. No chemical residue, no radiation signature, just a metallic sphere roughly the size of a bowling ball with no visible welds, no seams, and a surface so perfectly machined that the people who found it said it looked like nothing made on this planet. When researchers ran X-ray scans, they claimed the interior was structured in 3 concentric metallic layers surrounding a dense central core, with smaller microspheres arranged symmetrically inside. Engineers who weighed it reported the mass fluctuated, shifting from 16 to 20 to 22 pounds over a matter of days. And then somebody pointed a spectrometer at it, and the claims got even stranger. They said it was absorbing 100 watts of thermal energy from the surrounding air, continuously, dropping its surface temperature 15 degrees below ambient. Now, I need to be very clear with you right now. A lot of what you are about to hear has not been verified by any mainstream scientific institution, but the technology that could verify it, the technology that could settle this once and for all, already exists. And that is where this story gets genuinely fascinating. Let's dive in. What was actually found? Here is what we know based on public reporting. The sphere was reportedly discovered near Buga in the Valle del Cauca department of Colombia in early 2025. A researcher named José Luis Velázquez allegedly performed a preliminary analysis using a portable spectrometer and claimed the material was a titanium-based alloy containing elements he could not identify on the standard periodic table. X-ray imaging purportedly revealed an internal architecture of 3 concentric metallic shells, housing either 9 or 18 smaller microspheres arranged symmetrically around a dense central nucleus. Now, a figure you may have heard of, Dr. Stephen Greer, publicly claimed that organic material found within the sphere was carbon dated by the University of Georgia to 12,560 years ago. If true, that would place its origin precisely at the onset of the Younger Dryas, a catastrophic climate event that coincided with the extinction of megafauna across the Americas. Engineer Rodolfo Garrido reported that the sphere's mass appeared to fluctuate, changing from 16 to 20 to 22 pounds sequentially. And Jaime Maussan, who organized press conferences about the object, described what he called ionizing fields emanating from the surface. I want to be straight with you. None of these claims have been published in a peer-reviewed journal. None have been independently replicated by a university lab. The carbon dating, the fluctuating mass, the unknown elements, all of it remains in the category of extraordinary claims awaiting extraordinary evidence. But here is the thing. The physics behind why these claims are so explosive is real. And understanding that physics is the key to understanding why both sides, skeptics and believers, are watching this story so closely. The 100-watt problem. Alright, let's talk about why a 100-watt energy spike from a passive object is such a big deal. The first law of thermodynamics says energy cannot be created or destroyed. If an object is continuously absorbing or emitting 100 watts of power, that energy has to come from somewhere. It needs a source. Now, stones and metals do emit energy passively through radioactive decay. Igneous rocks like granite and granodiorite contain trace amounts of uranium, thorium, and potassium-40, and as those isotopes decay, they release heat. But the magnitude is microscopic. In high-heat production granites, we are talking about 0.2625 microwatts per cubic meter. Microwatts, a massive dequeous stone sphere from Costa Rica, nearly 9 feet in diameter, would produce a total radiogenic heat output of less than 30 microwatts. That is roughly 3 million times less than 100 watts. To get 100 watts of continuous power output from a small, room-temperature object through any known decay mechanism, you would need something like weapons-grade polonium-210. The SNAP-3 thermoelectric generator built for spaceflight used a concentrated polonium capsule running at 593 degrees Celsius just to produce 3 watts. 3 watts at 600 degrees. The Buga Sphere is allegedly producing over 30 times that at room temperature. That is why physicists find the claim either revolutionary or absurd. There is no middle ground. A theoretical paper by P. Morcillo attempted to explain this by proposing that the sphere contains engineered negative mass inclusions that interact with the fabric of spacetime itself, allowing it to draw energy from the local vacuum. In mainstream physics, negative mass is a purely mathematical concept explored in the context of wormhole theory and the Alcubierre warp drive metric. It has never been observed, manufactured, or measured. Mainstream physicists reject the model as a mathematical contrivance with zero empirical support. Now, before I show you the actual quantum technology that could settle this debate permanently, if you are finding this as mind-bending as I am, smash that subscribe button right now, because we are about to cross into territory that will change how you think about measurement itself. The technology that could actually prove it. Here is where this story pivots from internet speculation to real cutting-edge science, because the tools that could definitively verify or debunk every single claim about the Buga Sphere already exist. They are called quantum sensors, and they are the most sensitive measurement instruments ever built by human beings. The first is nitrogen vacancy center magnetometry. Inside a synthetic diamond, physicists engineer a single atomic defect where a nitrogen atom sits next to an empty carbon slot in the crystal lattice. When you hit this defect with a green laser and microwave frequencies, the electron spin state responds to the tiniest magnetic fields in its environment by shifting the wavelength of the red light it emits. This allows you to map magnetic anomalies down to the sub-nanotesla level. You can literally detect the magnetic signature of a single atomic layer. If the Buga Sphere had any anomalous magnetic field, no matter how faint, an NV magnetometer would see it. The second is squid magnetometry. Superconducting quantum interference devices use superconducting loops with Josephson junctions to measure incredibly weak magnetic fields. They are the gold standard. They are used in medicine to map the biomagnetism of the human brain and spinal cord, and in archaeology to measure the natural remnant magnetization of ancient stones and ceramics. If the sphere has any magnetic signature whatsoever, a squid would quantify it with absolute precision. The third is quantum gravimetry. Using cold atom interferometry, these sensors detect micro-variations in gravitational pull. Archaeologists are already using them to map buried Roman roads and subterranean ruins without moving a single grain of dirt. If the Buga Sphere is genuinely experiencing mass fluctuations, a quantum gravimeter would measure the gravitational anomaly directly. And then there is AI. Not the chatbot kind. At MIT, researchers led by Muyang Cheng have built machine learning models trained to analyze dense, noisy data from neutron scattering techniques. This AI can simultaneously detect up to 6 different types of atomic defects inside semiconductor materials without cutting the material open. If you combined squid magnetometry, NV sensing, and AI-driven pattern recognition and pointed them all at the Buga Sphere, you would have a definitive answer within days. The technology is not theoretical. It exists right now. The ancient spheres that actually exist. Now, while the Buga Sphere remains unverified, there is a parallel story here that is 100% real, and it is arguably just as extraordinary. The genuine pre-Columbian stone spheres of Costa Rica. Over 300 catalogued petrospheres have been found in the Defies Delta region, carved by the extinct Defies culture between roughly 300 and 1550 CE. They range from 4 inches in diameter to massive monoliths measuring over 8.5 feet across and weighing more than 24 metric tons. They are carved primarily from gabbro and granodiorite, igneous rocks similar to granite. In 2014, the UNESCO World Heritage Committee listed the Defies sphere sites, recognizing their profound archaeological significance. Fringe theorists love to claim the precision of these spheres proves advanced or extraterrestrial technology. But experimental archaeology tells a different story. The manufacturing process started with the selection of naturally rounded boulders, already partially shaped by river transport. Workers used controlled thermal shock, heating the rock with fire and rapidly cooling it with water to fracture and remove outer layers. Then came pecking, striking the surface with harder stone tools to pulverize high spots. The final near-perfect geometry was achieved through prolonged grinding with sand, water, and leather abrasives. No aliens required. Just extraordinary human skill, patience, and engineering. And these real spheres do have measurable physical properties. Because they are carved from quartz-bearing igneous rock, they possess inherent piezoelectric properties. Jacques and Pierre Curie discovered piezoelectricity in 1880. It is the electric charge that accumulates in certain materials when you apply mechanical stress. Geophysicists routinely use the piezoelectric activity of rocks to locate mineral deposits. But here is the critical distinction that fringe narratives always omit. Piezoelectricity is an energy conversion mechanism, not an energy source. A granodiorite sphere sitting in a field cannot emit a sustained energy field. It can only produce a momentary microscopic voltage spike if physically struck. The out-of-place artifact trap. The Buga Sphere narrative follows a pattern that scientists have seen dozens of times before. It is called the out-of-place artifact trap. An object is found that looks like it should not exist. The internet assigns it impossible properties. Prestigious institutions are name-dropped without evidence, and the scientific method gets bypassed entirely. Consider the Saqqara bird, a small wooden carving from an Egyptian tomb. Fringe theorists said it was a scale model of an ancient cargo aircraft. An aerospace engineer named Martin Gregory built a precise replica from Egyptian fig wood and tested it extensively. The glide ratio was catastrophic, 1 to 2.3. It dropped 1.3 meters for every 3 meters of forward travel. Totally unstable, without a modern tailplane. The original artifact is almost certainly a child's toy or a weather vane, since it points steadily into the wind without veering. Or the Dendera Light. Massive stone reliefs at the Hathor Temple in Egypt showing figures holding bulbous objects enclosing a wavy line. Erich von Däniken said it was proof of ancient light bulbs, but the texts carved directly next to the relief explicitly describe the mythological birth of the creator god. The bulb is the womb of Nut. The wavy line is a snake symbolizing the god Sematawi emerging from a lotus flower. The supporting structure is a Jed pillar, an ancient symbol of stability. It is a textbook case of pareidolia, seeing modern technology in ancient religious art. And then there is the Antikythera mechanism, a genuine, extraordinary, gear-driven analog computer from ancient Greece that predicted astronomical positions and eclipses. This one is real, peer-reviewed, independently verified, displayed in a museum. And that is the difference. When something extraordinary is actually real, the evidence survives scrutiny. The question is whether the Buga Sphere's evidence will survive the same test. Now, here is the claim that gets the most attention. Multiple viral videos state that an MIT physicist confirmed the 100-watt energy spike. They frame it as institutional validation from one of the most respected physics departments on Earth. A comprehensive review of MIT faculty publications, press releases, departmental announcements, and peer-reviewed journals shows absolutely no record of a named MIT physicist validating a 100-watt energy spike from the Buga Sphere. The attribution appears to be a deliberate rhetorical device designed to grant institutional credibility to an unverified claim. But here is the irony. MIT is genuinely at the frontier of the exact technologies that could investigate this. The MIT Center for Quantum Engineering, directed by Professor William Oliver, is pioneering superconducting qubits and quantum sensing networks. MIT physicist Liang Fu recently published groundbreaking work on non-abelian anyons, particles that permanently remember being observed through topological braiding. And MIT's Max Tegmark has done the hard calculations showing that macroscopic quantum effects at room temperature are destroyed almost instantly by thermal decoherence. If any institution could test the Buga Sphere rigorously, it is MIT. But no one at MIT has actually done it. That distinction matters. But here is what is actually true. The quantum sensors that could verify every single claim about this object exist today. NV Center, magnetometry, squid devices, quantum gravimeters, AI-driven materials analysis. The tools are ready. The question is whether the people making these claims will ever submit the Buga Sphere to the kind of rigorous, transparent, peer-reviewed testing that separates real discoveries from internet mythology. Because right now, the most extraordinary thing about the Buga Sphere is not what it might be doing. It is the fact that nobody with the right equipment has been allowed to find out. Stay curious and keep exploring. I'll see you in the next one.